Welcome to What the Bible Says, a Lug Nuts podcast group production.
Well, hello, good morning, guten Tag, guten Morgen, and guten Abend.
Sauerkraut. Kind of a little silly morning here this morning, huh?
Yeah.
Or the afternoon, whatever.
It's all right. It's all right. Better than a bad morning.
Well, here's the deal. One of my favorite verses in the Bible, and you think I'd know what the address is because it's one of my favorite verses. Makes you wonder if it really is truly a favorite verse of mine.
Chapter something, verse I don't know.
Yeah, it's in the Proverbs.
Proverbs chapter something, verse I don't know. The running joke is if you get there before Steve does, let him know what it is.
That's right. Well, if I could type right. Proverbs 17:22. A cheerful heart is good medicine. There you go. You know,
I'm not going to argue with that.
you know, and that's, you know, there's a time and place to be serious, and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and then you just need to laugh.
Yeah.
Cheerful heart is good medicine.
Exactly.
So,
And I think after last week, too, that
yeah, after our topic last week.
our topics for the last couple of weeks, honestly, we
Been
just
pretty
need
heavy.
a good, light-hearted laugh to start things off.
Yeah, we've been talking about guilt, legalism, and death.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Jeez.
that.
So we're on to the last
Section.
third of the book.
Mm-hmm.
There's light, folks. We're almost done. Don't worry. So we're on other help and advice, and now on chapter 21. We're on to medical treatments.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! I can hear everyone cheering right now. They're so happy to go through medical treatments. And this is kind of like last chapter for me, Steve. If you want to just go ahead and take control, because I have a whopping 4 things.
Okay, a whopping
Yeah.
4 things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will just kind of make our way through this. Let me see. How long is this? All right. All right. Well, here's the deal. This one is about medical treatments. And so this is a subject that has a lot of different twists and turns and a lot of different ways to look at it. I think there's ditches on either side.
Yeah.
All right. So one is all of my problems can be solved by medication, and I just need to take a pill and it'll make me feel better. The other ditch is that it's all in your head, and if you just get your act together, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
That's the ditch
Right.
on either side, you know. And so what I want to do is help us to come to and you know, if you've heard me talk before, I'm all about balance. You know, I think, you know, the universe needs to be in balance. Sorry. Doing a little Star Wars on us here, and the Force may be with us. But I'll start with our discussion with, and Kenny, I think we've talked about this before. When I was finishing up my postgraduate work, I had to do a final class project, and I combined my love for counseling with, it was in a biology class, with the area of antidepressants, and I won't get into all of the minutia of neurotransmitters and Prozac uptake, rehab uptake reinhibitors, but I'll say those just because it makes me sound like I'm really smart, which I'm not at all. But the point is that, and I'll cut to the chase, I do believe that there are some people who medically have some issues going on in their brain. And their synapses are not firing right, and the neurotransmitters are not working right, and drugs are a way to help that. Yeah. All right, so I will say that up front. The flip side of that coin is there are people who their brains are just fine, and they're taking medication and using it in a way that supposedly they think it's helping them, and it's really
Not.
not. It's really not helping them at all. They really don't have any issues. They really, truly do have more of a spiritual dimension that they need to be addressing other than the physical. Now, here's the problem. In my research that I did, we used rats. You can cut a rat's head open, stick a probe in his brain, and do all kinds of testing on him to kind of figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Most people that I know don't want to have their head split open, have a probe stuck in, and just say, just go about your daily normal activity and routine today, hooked up to this thing with a probe stuck out of your brain to monitor, how your brain waves are working or whatever. And so that's why when you see on commercials for the different medications to take to help you with your depression, anxiety, whatever, it says it may work, possibly, da-da-da-da-da. The only thing they can really tell you for sure is all the side effects.
Yeah. Yes.
You will get those.
Yeah.
You will have those. All right. And again, not making light of it, but my point is that there's not really a good way. There's no blood test for depression. You can't go to the doctor and say, here, you look at your blood and go, oh, you're depressed.
Yeah.
Or you have bipolar, or you are schizophrenic, or whatever the case might be. No different than you don't have a blood test to say, oh, you're a liar. Or you're an angry person. Well, we did a blood test on you. So I'm going to be fair on this, this going both ways.
Right.
Okay? I mean, that makes sense. You go, well, you're just picking on the people who are bipolar. No, I don't have a blood test to know. I wish, we talked about it before. I wish I had a Geiger counter and go beep, 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 beep. I could just wave across your chest and see if you're lying to me or whatever. And so I just want to be very balanced and say up front as we take a look at this chapter, I think there's a place for medication, but I will say honestly, I think it's way overused. Mm-hmm. And there are people who are taking medication. And here's again, what happens is that it robs people of hope. I think that's the biggest issue that I see, is that it robs people of hope, because what happens is that you begin to identify yourself with whatever situation you find yourself in, whatever you're struggling with. That becomes who you are, and the only way to manage it is through medication, and most likely it's going to have to be something that's long term. Mm-hmm. And what kind of hope is there in that somehow I have a label, is managed by some drug that affects my body, and it's going to be for like who knows how long. Mm-hmm. Right? In my counseling ministry, I never make that an issue, because what I find is people who counsel with me, they're the ones after a while, a month, 2 months, 6 months into it, they go, Steve, I really don't think I need this medication anymore. And I'm saying to them, and again, I would tell you up front, I'm not a doctor, and I never tell people, get rid of your meds. I say, you go check with your doctor, but if you can, yeah. And they have a tendency to wean themselves off. So I rarely, because I'm not a doctor, because these drugs are powerful drugs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You just don't just go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go off my antidepressants just cold turkey, unless you just want to go like 3 or 4 days with the shakes and cold sweat and whatever. All right, so you want to interact with anything I've said right here as far as amen, yes, good job with you, Steve? What do you think to what I just said?
I mean, I'm tracking with you. I get it. I guess I've never been in that position before to just take medication for depression, because I pretty much knew it was all in my head, so I really didn't need the medication to help me out. But I mean, if I wasn't a Christian or anything, I probably would have ended up going with the drugs. But not saying that me being a Christian was the main reason why I didn't.
Right.
I just realized from the start that it's just me.
Right. There was a spiritual component to that. And we're not saying you're a bad person if you take drugs, by the way, at all. You're not that we're like, I'm more super spiritual or more a better person because that. It's just saying, and we want to take a look at it from a very balanced approach. So let's hop into it. 189 is the page we're on. You have Sarah. So Sarah was a dinosaur in the world of depression. Why was that? Because she was depressed, but she wasn't taking medication. That's like unheard of. What kind of a dinosaur are you?
Right.
But she gives into the advice of her friends, and that was second paragraph. As a way to love those close to her, she heeded their advice, and they decided, "Oh, let's just let's get on to some medications." And again, that's not just even medications for whether we're antidepressant, whatever. We live in a pill popping world to fix anything.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong inherently with medications, but we have a tendency to run to those pretty quickly. And the thing that we also then want is instant relief too.
Yes.
And that's part of counseling. See, our goal in counseling, this gets back to, our goal in counseling is not pain relief. And my goal in counseling is to help you manage whatever's going on in your world to the glory of God, that it might benefit him. It might glorify him and benefit you as well. And so nothing wrong with pain relief, by the way. I'm not saying, hey, Lord, pour it on. Really enjoy all this.
Yeah. No.
But that can't be the primary. But that's, unfortunately, that's what happens sometimes is we take a pill and it's going to make me feel better.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes on page 190, says the second paragraph, the heart is really the battleground during suffering and deserves your utmost attention. Yeah. The very last sentence, and your pain won't have the same devastating power. And the whole idea here is that a drug is not going to fix your heart. Unless you have a physical heart issue, you got a bad valve or something. Okay,
right.
that's you need a pacemaker. Okay, that'll fix it. But the heart here is not representative of the physical heart. It's the spiritual heart. It's that part of where our decision making, and that's that soulish spiritual side of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we need to. That's where the real battleground is coming. Mm-hmm. So then the bottom, that last paragraph, and I wrote down, this is key. That last sentence is, they will not give you hope, but they might make you feel less miserable. Again, people say, well, I feel better when I take the drugs. Well, of course you do. But is it helping you long term? It's not, because what's going to happen once that medication wears off? Well, you're going to need it again and again. And that's where there is no sense of hope, because you begin to find out pretty quickly that you're tethered to whatever medication it is, and that now I'm in bondage almost is what it's like. And you may be listening to us right now and say, yeah, that's how I am. I'm in bondage to this medication. And what I just want you to consider is there something else going on in your world? But again, that's where you've got to find a biblical counselor who will help you to root out and take a look at idols of the heart and what that looks like. So, anything on 189 or 190 there that you had?
Yeah, so on 189, in that first paragraph there, I had, she didn't like taking aspirin, let alone something more potent, unless it was absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of like the last sentence there in that first paragraph. The other reason was that she felt that she should be able to shake free of depression, or at least the inactivity in her life, by relying on Jesus alone. So she thought she can just shake it herself,
right,
instead of taking medication,
right.
And then on 190, I had that first little paragraph there. Depression involves the whole person, body and soul. The soul or heart is always busy interpreting painful circumstances and sorting out basic allegiances. The body just feels sick.
Mm-hmm.
And then the middle paragraph towards the bottom, the last little part of that sentence, but physical treatments don't treat the guilt, fear, self-loathing, and other distinctly spiritual symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we've already touched.
Yep. Good observations. So we move on to 191. Topic here is just antidepressants. And again, the point is, we've already talked about this. Mm-hmm. There is a broad agreement that antidepressant medication can make some people feel better, but the next paragraph is, there's much we still don't know.
Right.
And that is, we don't know how they work, why they work, when they work. the last sentence of that second paragraph says, the truth is that the biological theories remain theories.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
In theory, these things work. And again, not trying to be, that's what I'm looking for here, disrespectful to people out there. But the whole idea of, if you really want to know what's going on in your brain, you'd have to have your brain sliced open, probes stuck in, and walk around with somebody monitoring that the whole time. And that type of information is just not available. And so then you go down to the bottom of 191, and they just have these 6 bullet points. And I just wrote down, this is just good info. And it says, all of them start with, we don't know, 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 we don't know. We just don't know. As much as people want to say they do, as much as these commercials want to tell you that they don't know 100%, and there's some places, that I can live with. I don't know, but this is like, you're gonna
This is serious stuff.
Yeah, well, and you want me to take this powerful drug,
Right?
But you don't know why it works, how it works, if it's going to work, how long. What's the mechanism? What's going on? It just, to me, it gives temporary. I guess if you're looking for temporary relief,
there you go.
It is, but temporary relief is just going to be continuing, just more temporary relief, and after a while, I think it's just going to become, unless you're just going to get into a routine and just get up every morning, just take a pill and just be done with it. But even then, at some point in time, you go, okay, there's got to be more to life than just taking a pill just to help me.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything on 191 there?
Absolutely nothing.
All right. I was going to say, to me, that was just what I like about it is it's a balanced look at this of saying antidepressants can alter the way you feel. Yeah. No doubt about it. I'm not going to argue with that at all. But why they work, how they work, if they're really necessary, are they really attacking, as you've already pointed out, guilt, fear, self-loathing, and other spiritual symptoms? Because again, many times that's where the heart is really just pumping these things out. That was David in Psalm 32. He just talked about how miserable he was because of his sin with Bathsheba. And again, the other thing is, as I think about it, taking a drug to mask the guilt that you have and the fact that God is telling you this is not right really isn't helping you, because you're really covering up kind of your conscience, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you're really not allowing your conscience to really bear on the fact that I need to do something different.
Yeah.
So then we go to 192, and in the middle, okay, so the question is, should you take medication? It's a great question.
Right.
All right, so the medication versus no medications. And again, the question is, it's unclear whether medications is any more helpful than counseling. All right. And we're just talking about that. The next one is side effects. I'm trying to make light of side effects, but you see the commercial on TV all the time. And I realize those side effects are minimal. They happen to but here's the deal. And I say to my wife, the fact that they have a side effect means that happened to somebody.
Right.
Now, that wouldn't be listed
right.
if it wasn't, Now, is it 1 in 100,000? They don't tell you that, but the point is, just to cover their tails, they have to say there's side effects. But sometimes you look at that and go, the side effect is worse than what you got.
Right.
So anyway, so you got to think about side effects, long-term use. I've already talked about that. Okay, is this something that I'm going to take? And unfortunately, you say, well, I'm just going to take it until I feel better. Well, it's like any other drug. After a while, it's easy to become dependent upon it, hooked on it, so to speak. And I know that your doctor's not giving it to you to get you hooked on it, but you can become dependent upon a pill.
Yeah.
Guidelines then on 193 says, if you're already taking medication, are you feeling better or worse than you felt before you started? If you are no different or worse, talk with your physician to discuss a change. Again, what are the guidelines? What's going on? Is there some way, do you have a relationship with your doctor that you can feel? And then down, you go down another paragraph. So some depressed people are highly suicidal or passive in the extreme. That is one of the side effects that you see almost in all of these commercials, is the tendency to increase the potential for suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
When you're already probably not in a good place to begin with.
Right.
And so now you're going to add some. It's kind of like, to me, pouring lighter fluid on
a fire.
On a fire.
Yeah.
And instead of pouring water on a fire, it's just going to enhance that and make it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so those are just some things as far as when you're thinking about medication versus no medication, side effects, long-term use, guidelines, what kind of thoughts are you going to have? Kenny, any questions or comments about 192, 193?
The only thing that I had was on 193, that little bottom paragraph there. When in doubt, get counsel from other pastors, counselors, physicians, or lay people who have biblical wisdom and experience with depression.
Right. I guess, I go back when I had my bout of depression back in year 2000, Y2K, we're all going to die. And man, that wasn't a good 3 months for me. Fortunately, come to find out that I had my thyroid was jacked up, and that was the reason for what was going on. But I'm not glad for that period of time, because it was awful. It was just awful. But I do know that because I've gone through that time, even though it was a very limited time, you say 3 months is a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, 3 months isn't very long at all. You struggled for years.
Yeah.
Okay. But it gave me an understanding of saying, when someone says they're having a panic attack, if you've never had a panic attack before, you go, oh, just shut up, get over it.
That is
buck up and move on. That's bad counsel.
That is
really
not
bad
how
counsel.
you deal with a panic attack.
Right. But I've had a panic attack. And so I understand when someone says I'm struggling with a panic attack, first off, I can identify with that. And secondly, I'll say, okay, this is what I did to help me work my way through that. And I guess that's what that last paragraph there to me is saying.
Yeah.
Get counsel from pastors, counselors, or people who have experienced depression, just to help them, to get their perspective on how do they feel, how do they manage it, what were some of the resources. I still have my notes, all my notes from 25 years ago that I took to help people. And sometimes people who are really struggling with depression, I would get those notes out and just let them read my notes to just help them, to say, this is what I was doing to get my thinking back online. This is what it was. And people find that very, very helpful because that's the main thing that's gone sideways on them, is their thinking.
Yeah.
And so they would go through my notes. I got a whole yellow legal pad, it's full of just my notes, things I read, observations I was making, to help me work my way through it. I became very vulnerable and very transparent, so it's not like I give them out to everybody to read.
Right.
But if you are really struggling in that area, I keep that for that very reason, just to give you, and to me, that gives people hope. Hey, look at me, here I am today, Not that you want to be like me, but,
Right.
I lived through it.
Yeah.
All right, next page, 194. And this is a good thing, is a medical exam.
Yeah.
This is, whenever people counsel with me, we have our PDI. One of the questions we ask is, when's the last time you were at the doctor? Because whatever you're going through right now, does it have a potential physiological or organic reason for why you're, and so what we're saying is that, yeah, I'm experiencing anxiety, frustration. The PDI gives me kind of an idea of what's going on in your life. But my question is there something going on at the cellular level, molecular level of your body that is creating some things that, and again, it's not because there's anything going wrong with your body that gives you a reason to be depressed, but what we're saying is, instead of throwing drugs at it, maybe you need some kind of medical attention that would help in that situation. And so that's what this chapter is all about, or this section. It says, easily overlooked in the discussion about medication is the fact that depression can be caused by a number of medical problems. Then you have table 21.1, And you see it's got 2 columns. At the top of column number 2 is hyperthyroidism. That's what I had. I had a hyperthyroid, and then a hyperthyroid, I lost like 25 pounds in 2 weeks. My hair was starting to fall out. It was like, and in a hyperthyroid, basically, picture a car. You're in park, but your foot is on the accelerator. And your engine is going 100 miles an hour.
Oh.
That's what's going on.
Okay.
You're just like, you're in hyperthyroid, man. Your body's just like going. That's why you lose weight. Your hair falls out. You're sweaty. You're hot all the time, because it's like you're running a marathon all the time, and your body just can't keep up with it. All right? You're in a hyperthyroid. Well, the point is that led to me being full of all kinds of worry, fear, anxiety, frustration. I thought I was dying, and I couldn't come up with why this was going on. It was my my immune system was all out of whack, and the doctors I went to were just medical doctors, nice guys, but they just basically kind of thought I was nuts. And that's when they put me on antidepressants, and those things were just awful. It wasn't until I went to a holistic natural doctor that said, "Well, your thyroid's jacked up, and the only way to really help you is to build up your immune system. It'll fix itself." Well, it was pretty crazy how I wouldn't sleep at all. Part of that is insomnia,
wow.
Because you're like, oh, your mind's just going.
Yeah.
I would go 3 or 4 days at a time without any sleep at all. And then when I did sleep, it really wasn't even
enough
sleep
right.
at all. Okay. So the whole idea of just a medical exam. That's all I had for that one. Anything you had for that one?
I didn't have anything.
Zippo? Okay. Then on 195, other physical treatments. This gets into, again, the next question is, the second paragraph, the question with these physical treatments is not, is this treatment right or wrong? The question is this treatment wise? And you can get into some pretty crazy things. You can get into electroshock therapy and some other really, and the one that I would suggest is diet and exercise. Those are a couple things that I would suggest do make a difference. But even then, before you start taking a bunch of supplements or you start exercising, I had a guy today who he's way out of shape, got himself a bicycle and want to start to ride. And I said, great. When's the last time you rode a bicycle? 30 years ago, maybe. I said, okay, maybe instead of going out and riding for an hour, you might just want to go out for 5 minutes and just kind of ease into it.
Yeah.
And so that would be my suggestion here too, is that just wisdom just comes from, treatments, counsel, again, people who've been down that path. You're not saying that there aren't some things that are potentially going to be helpful, but just be real. See, this is the deal. Because we have the internet, you can find all kinds of whacked stuff out there as far as people and things that they're doing. And some of them can be very helpful, and the others you're like going, yeah, that's not a good idea. Right. So I guess the question is this treatment right or wrong? Is this treatment wise?
Yes.
And this is where God gave you a brain. And you just kind of shake your head and go, yeah, I know you say it works, but I'm not quite sure this is really where I need to be going.
Yes.
All right. And then the bottom 195 says the culture of medical treatments. The third sentence there says, for example, one feature of present-day thinking is that we still put our hope in medicine instead of putting our hope in Jesus.
Yes.
And putting our hope in Jesus, you have to be very careful with that statement, because that sounds like it's like a Jesus pill.
Yeah.
Take 2 verses, call me in the morning. It's not that easy. To put your hope in Jesus means, foundationally speaking, you're now going to live in obedience to Him, willfully obeying Him and doing it, but you have to do it not because you want to be healed. You have to do it because it's what's pleasing to God, and it brings Him honor and it brings Him glory. It says we have put our hope in the treatment. Our hope is what revises our experiences of depression. And we have to put our hope in our treatment. And we talked about this before, hope in my therapist, hope in whatever. And again, the problem is if those things go sideways, where's your hope? As opposed to your hope is in the scriptures, your hope is in the Lord. That's where you have to be guided and direction. Okay? And then the next paragraph says, we also live in a culture that assumes we are only physical beings. That's a key phrase. That's where the iceberg principle is when somebody comes to my counseling. What's the presentation problem? What can I see? And we deal with that, but that's only 10%. 90% is below. There's a heart issue we need to get at. You're more than just flesh and blood.
Yeah.
There's a soulish spiritual side to you that we want to make sure we investigate as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, our culture no longer sees any value in hardships. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about that before too. That the goal of counseling is not to alleviate pain.
Yeah.
The primary goal. Now, is that anything wrong with that as far as a secondary, tertiary goal? Nothing wrong with that at all. It's nothing. No place does the Bible say, just remain and be sadistic in your desire for the Lord just to pour it on and make life miserable at all. Mm-hmm. The hardships, we know God uses them to refine and change us. So it ends with these issues in mind. Be careful, and I like these last two words. Choose wisely.
Yes.
Anything you got on pages 195, 196?
I had that little paragraph there on 196. Other than that was it. I guess overall, I kind of started thinking more right as we got into medication versus no medication, all those kind of things. Just that it's unfortunate, and I'm no medical student going to school for a medical degree here. But it's unfortunate that most of the time doctors, and I'm not saying all doctors do this, but doctors in general push people towards medication than actually figuring out what is the problem. Like, all they want is for you to get in, get medication, and get out. That's what it seems like for most of the time. But it's like, you're a doctor. You're supposed to help me to get better or figure out what the problem is. And then we can figure out how or what road to go down in order for me to feel better.
Mm-hmm. To be fair to the doctors, the problem becomes is that you're asking them to treat something that they're not really trained to treat. And that's the spiritual dimension of that component of it. And that's where it's helpful as a biblical counselor if you would have a Christian doctor. Because a Christian doctor would recognize a situation much as you're saying, and listen, this is, your thyroid's whacked, but you also need some counseling to go along with that as well. And so trying to, and I think that's where the frustration comes in, is trying to treat a spiritual problem with a physical answer, and it just doesn't work. It masks the problem. I think we all would say, listen, I don't want to put a Band-Aid on what's going on.
Right.
I want to solve this so it doesn't come back again.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I think this, the book talks about, it says there's a third option. I think that's what I liked about it is that stay out of the ditch of nothing but medicine, stay out of the ditch of saying everything's a spiritual. Let's come together in the middle and say, choose wisely. Mm-hmm. Just use the brain God gave you and lean in on the Lord for his support and his strength, and trust that he will guide and direct whatever areas you need to grow and change. What do you think?
Amen to that.
Amen. Well, take us on home, brother.
Well, again, week 2 of Steve leading the discussion. He has been the sensei in the last 2 weeks.
The sensei. Oh. It's like this. My sensei bow for all those.
Yes.
What that was all about.
Yeah. So for Steve Cox, I'm Kenny Cramer saying, don't forget, Jesus loves you, and
So do we.
We hope you enjoyed the podcast today. If you did, please check out our website for more podcast episodes and shows at thelugnutspodcastgroup.com. Like us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll see you next week.